the day is a slightly unusual one. This is A Return to One Foot Island by Graeme Lay. I found this and bought it sort of sight unseen from a op shop. I hadn't heard of the author, I hadn't heard of the book. The cover made me think it came from a movie, but I wasn't aware of the movie. The cover design, it says, is by Nick Andrews, and it wraps around to the back. And despite the fact that it's got all the symptoms, I've got a feeling that it doesn't come from a movie now. I'm not sure. Anyway, it is thoroughly enjoyable. It's a very well written little book, and it is very much a mood book. The thing that I loved about it, absolutely adored, is the very thing that makes it a mood book. So you must be in the mood to imagine along with the vivid descriptions of the Pacific Islands, the ocean, the sea breeze, the experience of sailing a catamaran, sand, clear waters, all those things which charmed me. But you'd have to be in the right frame of mind to just sort of drift along with those descriptions. You couldn't be jonesing for action or something really fast paced, because this isn't. It's beautiful descriptions. Now, Graeme Lay, an author that I personally had never heard of, and apparently Goodreads hasn't either, because this is the only book of his on Goodreads, and the author has no profile at all. So that's interesting. According to the front of the book, he's a Kiwi, born in Foxton, educated in Wellington. Where he lives, who knows, but he seems to have quite a long list of published novels. He's got fiction and he's got non-fiction. One of the non-fictions apparently is about the Cook Islands. He's got adult, he's got non-adult. He's got a lot of short stories, many of which, according to this book, are set in the Cook Islands or in other islands of the South Pacific. So what I didn't know when I picked up this book is that it's actually a sequel. It's a sequel to Leaving One Foot Island. There's a theme here. And that book was a finalist in the 1999 New Zealand Post Children's Book Awards. This could be a children's book, and it could be a young adult book. The character herself is a young adult. She's in her final year or final years of high school on the island. But there is a simplicity and it's not quite naivety, but there's I suppose wholesome is the word. There's a wholesomeness to this book that makes it less edgy than I think perhaps many young adults expect this day. It's a thoroughly beautiful little book, and I love the characters in it. But it might be a little bit too young for some people who would normally be young adult readers. Now, the One Foot Island in question is one of the fringing islands. So in your typical Pacific Island group, you'll have a main island, but it's a coral cay island, so it's been built up over time. Then you have a lagoon, and at the outer edge of the lagoon you've got a reef and a whole heap of small sandy islands. You've got the Pacific crashing against this reef in a way that's described beautifully here, and is really exciting the first few times you see it. Actually, it will never stop being exciting for me to see it. If you've ever been lucky enough to fly above one of these coral cay islands, you can see this amazing blue ocean with a dot in the middle and a little circle of clearer, shallower water, and these tiny dots of islands around. So One Foot Island is one of these tiny waterless sand islands that are around the edge of the lagoon of the Cook Island, where our main character, Twain, lives. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I suspect I'm not. I haven't been to the Cook Islands yet, but yeah. So the main character, Twain, has just come back to the Cook Islands. In the first book, the one that I didn't know existed when I started on this one, Leaving One Foot Island, she apparently was obliged to leave her home and go to New Zealand for school. Apparently she was really good at school, she was getting high grades, and the teacher persuaded her family that she'd have better opportunities if she went to school in New Zealand. She hated it. She'd never been so cold in her life. Bad things happened. At the beginning of this book, she's just come home and she's perfectly delighted to be there. So we start off with her sailing a small catamaran from the main island out to the outer lagoon islands, and her delight in her environment, her enjoyment of the activity are wonderful. Absolutely stunning. And that enjoyment was very much the enjoyment that I got out of the book as well. It's actually, perhaps that says a lot more about my reading choices than anything else, but it seems to me to be just a little bit unusual to have a young adult book where you've got a balanced and sensible and relatable character as your main protagonist who is happy in her home and happy with her life. It's actually maybe a bit unusual. And Twain isn't immune to teenage problems, but there's a simplicity to her life, and that wholesomeness that I mentioned before extends to other people and other relationships. And I found this a very soothing, enjoyable book to read. It was just nice. A few bad things do happen, but they're not end of the world bad things. They're the sort of bad things that really happen in a real life, and the way they work out is realistic, but still in its own way quite charming. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. So every book does need to have its challenges and things to overcome and everything. The ones in this book relate around a small mistake she made while in New Zealand, and it's coming back to haunt her in a strange way. I won't bother to mention what that is. Reading about it makes it interesting, but it's part of her concern, and it feels like the concern of a teenager, where you're inclined to be overly obsessed with small details that in 10 years from now you'd be able to overcome in your own mind and in your life, but you're young and you're still learning how to do these things. So there's that, there's a betrayal of a friend, there's a medical collapse of her papa while he's out at sea, and the incident of her going to rescue him along with the second person. All of these small realistic adventures, and they're wonderfully told. And it's the writing that make those waves feel real, and it's the writing that makes the emotions feel true, and it's the writing that makes the story engrossing as well as the main characters. Now, and I mean it when the waves feel real, when she's describing going out in a tiny dinghy, rubber dinghy, outside the reef to find her papa's ship, which is itself is it's only a tinny, and she's describing the waves being so high that you're in this black valley with great descriptions. Graeme Lay clearly loves the ocean every bit as much as his Graeme Lay clearly loves the ocean every bit as much as his biography suggests, and has very strong understanding of the sea and living with the sea, and I love that. Now, because this is a young adult, the main plot element really is a romance between Twain and a boy who is a visitor to the island. Adam and his family are from Melbourne, and they're travelling around the Pacific in a yacht, him, his parents, and his younger sister. And Twain's mama puts on family dinners for visitors, we gather, for a bit of extra cash, and sometimes people can actually stay there as well. But this family, the Kaplans, come for dinner. Now, Twain actually met in passing Adam earlier in the day when he went past her on his jet ski, and she is very dismissive of the jet ski and of Adam using it, and I'm totally Team Twain there. Those noisy, pesky things chasing dolphins and whales, don't like them. Don't like quite a few of their riders. Not all of them, some of them are decent, but having a jet ski under them seems to make a lot of people just behave like environmental terrorists. Anyway, because Twain is dismissive of Adam's jet ski, she offers to take him sailing and show what it's really like to be out in the lagoon when you can actually hear things and enjoy the wind. She does. And so by very slow, easy increments, you see them develop a relationship. They can talk to each other about things that they don't really have too many other people to talk to about. Twain obviously has her friends, but Adam doesn't really have any other teenagers to relate to, and they share ideas, opinions, and so you've got this very easy growing attraction that slowly turns into love. And it is enviably enjoyable after you've read a few too many insta-love stories, which young adult novels, modern young adult novels, do tend to thrash the insta-love thing. But here you have the slow development from strangers to slight friends to attraction that actually describes something that is a lot more realistic, especially for first love. It's certainly Twain's first love. We don't know about Adam. Right. So you have to have tension in these books, and the tension in this relationship comes from the fact that Adam is expected by his family to go back to Melbourne at the end of summer and enroll in a university to study law. He doesn't want to study law. He wants to be a writer, but he's going along with his family. He's still young enough to do that. Now, another tension comes from the fact that Adam's family are Jewish. The surname Kaplan is a big giveaway there, and his sister wears a gold Star of David necklace. Twain comes from the very strongly Christian culture that is pretty much throughout the Pacific Islands, at least that I've visited. Now, Twain herself isn't sure that she believes in the religion or in the God, and Adam is even less of a believer in gods and religions than her, but his family have outright stated that they expect him to marry a Jewish girl, and Twain is deeply uncertain how her community would react to her getting together with someone who is not any form of Christian at all. So these small tensions give the book a chance to explore a lot of themes of religious beliefs, cultural practices, where religion and culture actually meet and what that means for the people within the culture. So you've got racial prejudice as well as first love, childhood friendships, the difficulties of becoming your own person when you're a teenager. And I think all of these themes are very organically, very delicately handled. There's intelligence and sensitivity both in the characters who are describing their problems and in the author who is writing them for us. Now, honestly, the best thing about this was the location. I adore Pacific Islands. It's been almost a year since I was on one. The last one was Noumea, New Caledonia. And this book made me desperate to visit another one, maybe even the Cook Islands. I haven't been to those ones yet. So yes, the ocean, the land, the coconuts, it's all calling to me. There's not a lot to criticize about this book, honestly. My only quibble with it really comes on page 29, where Adam Kaplan's family come to dinner and explain they can't eat the pork that Twain's mum has prepared because they are Jewish, but it's just the pork. The rest of the food looks delicious. I had a little bit, I'm not sure about that, and I checked up. So no, there's clearly octopus on this table, and octopus, as I thought was the case, is every bit as unkosher as pork is. Is unkosher a word? I'm not sure. Anyway, pork isn't kosher, octopus isn't kosher. You wouldn't expect the Kaplans to be eating the octopus any more than they would the pork, but that's my only quibble. And it's a very small quibble. So if you like this type of book, or if you're willing to read this age, if you're in the mood for a beautiful story which you can just drift along with the ocean waves in that little catamaran with the breeze blowing, or suffer under a sudden tropical storm on an outer island. I miss Pacific Islands. If they sound like your thing, if you know nothing about the culture, I've always thought that children's books or very young adult books are an excellent way to learn about a culture you know nothing about. It's certainly more vivid than reading Wikipedia, though. Hey, Wikipedia is great as well. So yes, great book. Thoroughly glad I bought it. Thoroughly glad I read it. do recommend, if any of the themes there sound interesting to you, like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of thing. If you've been to the Cook Islands or if you're on the Cook Islands, tell me more. Whet my appetite. I'm sure I could go there. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year. I bet there's spectacular diving on the Cook Islands too. Anyway, have a great day. It's early in 2024. May it be a wonderful year. Read good books in 2024.